Hi guys, this is Mrs. Ullrey, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about the relationship between percent error and accuracy. So percent error and accuracy, percent error is a calculation that allows you to determine the accuracy of experimental results. The closer the percent is to zero, the more accurate the results are. So let's take a look at our first example. So two students are trying to guess at measuring 30 milliliters of contact solution while making slime. They collect contact solution in a cup and then they pour it into a graduated cylinder and determine the volume. They wonder who is more accurate and decide to compare their percent error calculations. So if we look, student A has a negative 8.33% error. Student B has a 4.33% error. So again, we just said that the smaller the percent error, or the closer to 0% you are, the more accurate the results. Therefore, student B is more accurate because their percent error is closer to 0. So then here, it says determine which student is more accurate at guessing people's weight. So again, we have two students here, and student A has a percent error of 1.61, and the other student has a percent error of negative 0.65. So student B is going to be more accurate, again, because their percent error is closer to 0. So this is the smaller percent error, therefore more accurate. Now we're going to talk about the relationship between between average and precision. So average calculations allow you to determine the precision of a group of measurements. The closer the average is to the values in the group of measurements, the more precise the measurements are. So if we take a look here, we have the students practicing measuring the length of time for a chemical reaction to take place. They observe the chemical reaction 3 times and measure the length of time for each. They wonder who is more precise in their measurements and decide to compare the average calculations. So student A has an average of 14.1, student B has an average of 15.1, and if we take a look at their averages here, you can see 2 of the measurements that student A made are exactly 14.1. So student A has measurements that are closest to the average, therefore student A is more precise. Their average value is closer to the measured values. Okay, so finally here, taking a look at this group, student A and student B, and which one is more precise at measuring the length of their desk. So student A had a measurement of 195, and you can see that student A's individual measurements were 195.2, 194.9, and 195.1. Versus student B has 196, 194, 195.7, and its average was 195.4. So student A is more precise because their average value of 195.1 is closest in value to the 3 measurements that were made. Okay. So what I want you to do is press pause and try these questions on your own. So the relationship between percent error and precision and accuracy. So you're going to look at the data that student A collected, and you're going to look at the data that student B collected. Student A used a plain old ruler like this, and student B used something called a micrometer, which is this device here, which digitally measures the width or length of something. So pause the video and then you can check your answers after. So let's look at the answers. So student A's average comes out to be 27.9. So we took student A's 4 values and we added them together and then we divided by 4. Then we did the same thing for student B. Student B, the average comes out to 28.246. Next, we'll calculate percent error. So we take student A and we take the average, which was 27.9. We're going to subtract from it the accepted value, which was right up here of 28.15. Divided by accepted times 100, and we get a percent error of negative 0.89. We do the same thing for student B, and that percent error comes out to being 0.34. Then finally, it's asking us to analyze and figure out which one was more precise and which one was more accurate. So student B was more precise, so the micrometer was more precise because their measurements were closer together in value. They only vary in the 1,000th of a millimeter. And then student B is also more accurate because its percent error is only 0.34%, which is smaller than 0.89%.